Diomandé. Real Madrid just signed the most absurd soccer player on earth. Let me give it to you straight. There is no other way to start. What the club just did has absolutely no precedent and makes zero logical sense. It is completely inexplicable for anyone who has never seen this guy play even once. But for those of us who actually have, for those who have been tracking his progress for months, the real question is not why Real Madrid decided to sign him. The question is, how did they not sign him sooner? Diomandé is a beast on the pitch, a player who shatters every tactical mold, fits no category, and does things on a soccer field that should not be legal. Today, we are going to break down absolutely everything: the exact transfer fee in euros, his massive annual salary, the secret release clauses buried deep inside that contract, and the specific qualities that make Diomandé a truly unique player, the impossible goals he scored and exactly how he scored them, plus what Mourinho said about this signing, which is an absolute bombshell, the reaction of the Spanish media who are completely losing their minds, and the one hidden detail nobody has told you yet about why Real Madrid moved heaven and earth to close this deal. And I promise you, once you hear this, you will fully understand why this guy is the most critical signing of the last 5 years. So do not go anywhere. This story is about to get wild from start to finish. Before we get into it, think about one thing. I know some people are sitting there right now asking, who is Diomandé, and why should I even care? And that is exactly why you must stay. Because by the end of this, you will know more about this player than 90% of the sports journalists in Europe, and you will understand why Real Madrid scouts spent over 2 years chasing him across half the continent. This is not just some random transfer. This is not some impulse buy. It is a calculated, surgical move designed to reshape the core of the team, and Diomandé is the missing piece. But let us go back to the beginning. Who is Diomandé, and where did this guy come from? His personal story alone reads like a movie. We are talking about a player born in Ivory Coast, a nation that has given the world of soccer legendary, massive talents hailing from the same soil as Didier Drogba, Yaya Touré, Gervinho, and Kolo Touré, a country where soccer is not just a sport, it is a religion. And Diomandé grew up playing barefoot in the streets, with no cleats, no gloves, nothing but balls made of rags on pitches of red dirt, where one bad fall would leave your knee completely raw and bleeding. And that detail is incredibly important. Do you know why? Because when a soccer player is forged under those brutal conditions, they develop something that simply cannot be taught in any academy in the world. Survival instinct, hunger, a desperate need to win every 50-50 ball as if his life depended on it. And that is exactly what you witness whenever Diomandé steps onto a professional pitch. Every tackle, every sprint, every dribble is done with a terrifying level of intensity, as though each match were the absolute last of his life. But hold on, because that raw, natural talent is just the foundation. What makes Diomandé truly special, what transforms him into a player without any real comparison in modern soccer, is the rare blend of physical power and technical skill packed into one body. And this is where things get genuinely ridiculous. Because when you actually look at the numbers, when you analyze the cold, hard data of what this guy can actually do on the field, you will not believe it. Let us start with the physical. Diomandé is an absolute colossus. We are talking about a player with a massive frame and a center of gravity that is incredibly low for his size, which allows him to maintain balance in situations where almost any other player would go crashing to the ground. He has lower body power that is straight out of another world. Once he explodes, once he builds up speed, absolutely nobody can stop him. And I am not exaggerating, nobody can stop him. There is a viral clip online where Diomandé picks up the ball in his own half, starts running, completely bulldozes past a fullback trying to cut him off, and just keeps going. He shrugs off a second defender who tries to foul him but fails because Diomandé is just too strong, and finally unleashes a rocket from outside the box that almost rips the net right off. That play, that single, unbelievable sequence defines who this player is. Pure, raw strength combined with explosive top speed and elite technical skill to finish the attack with a goal. How many players in the world can pull that off? I will tell you, very few. And watch out for his speed, because we are not just talking about a player who is simply fast. Diomandé has an acceleration from 0 to 30 meters that ranks him among the fastest in Europe. But even better, he maintains that pace with the ball glued to his feet, which is the hard part. Anyone can be fast without the ball. Mbappé is fast without it. Vinicius is fast without it. But Diomandé is just as lethal with the ball stuck to his foot. And that is a rare gift, a gift you cannot train. You are either born with it, or you are not. And honestly, want to know what blows my mind the most? For all that sheer physical power and raw brute force, Diomandé has touch like absolute silk. This is where we look at the technical side, the part where this guy turns into something you cannot even describe with normal words. Just watch him. Diomandé has an absolutely outrageous first touch. Receiving the ball anywhere back to goal, side on, defenders crawling all over him, that first touch always sets him up. Every single time. He spins, shields the ball, and right when the defender thinks they have him, a quick drop of the shoulder leaves them frozen on the grass. This is not empty showboating either. None of those useless tricks some players pull for the cameras that lead absolutely nowhere. His dribbles are functional, direct, and devastating. He blows right past defenders to create immediate danger. That is the real difference. Every move he makes is a direct dagger to the opposition, but stick around, because it gets even crazier. I haven't even mentioned the absolute best part of his game yet. The exact trait that has scouts worldwide losing their minds. The one that forced Real Madrid to drop a massive pile of cash on the table. A number I will reveal soon that will leave you completely speechless. That key trait is goals. Diomandé is a natural-born finisher. A true penalty box predator who senses the goal like a shark smelling blood in the water. And that is not just my biased opinion, the cold, hard data backs it up. He has been one of the most prolific strikers in Europe over recent seasons. We are talking numbers that beat players costing double or triple that amount. But the most impressive part isn't the number of goals, it's the variety. He finds the net in every way imaginable. He scores headers using his massive frame, attacking crosses like a heat-seeking missile. Firing with his right foot from distance, he launches absolute rockets into the net. He finishes with his left because he is fully two-footed. In elite football, that is a lethal weapon. On set pieces, he ghosts in at the back post when nobody expects it. He scores on counterattacks, using blistering pace to beat any defender alive. He delivers in massive matches, which to me is the most important part of all. Anyone can score league goals against mediocre mid-table teams on a random weekend. But Diomandé shows up on Champions League nights, dominates derbies, and scores when his team desperately needs it. He is the player who steps up when your back is against the wall, never hiding. The one demanding the ball when everyone else is terrified. Remember what I said at the start? That there was one crucial detail nobody else has shared? Well, it has to do with exactly this, his incredible goal record in decisive, high-stakes matches. But not just yet. Not quite yet. I still have plenty to share before we get to that point, so do not click away. Now we are getting to the heavy stuff. Let us talk money. Let us look at the actual numbers here. Real Madrid paying this much is a massive statement of intent to the entire football world. The transfer of Diomandé cost Real Madrid 85 million euros. Yes, 85 million euros. Let that sink in for a second. It is a massive sum, sure, but wait until you hear the context. 85 million euros for a young player. With his massive potential, his incredible stats, and all the elite clubs chasing him, that is not expensive, it is a bargain. Here is why. Other clubs made offers. Manchester City put an offer of 78 million euros on the table. Chelsea went as high as 75 million euros. Bayern Munich tested the waters with a bid of 68 million euros plus add-ons. Paris Saint-Germain, trying to sign everyone lately, offered 80 million euros flat. But Diomandé shows Real Madrid he shows white. And that right there says everything about his mentality. When a footballer has massive offers from half the world and still chooses Real Madrid, he wants to win, not just collect a paycheck. He wants titles, to make history. Playing for the biggest club on earth is his dream. As a fan, that is what I value most. A guy who arrives ready to bleed for the shirt, not just coast along and collect millions. Speaking of wages, because I know you are wondering, Diomandé will make 12 million euros net per year. 12 million euros a year is a mountain of cash, yes. But compare that to what other players get for half the production. Suddenly, 12 million a year does not sound so crazy for a guy who delivers 20 or 25 goals a season and destroys any fullback on earth. He wins you the big matches. That is an investment, not an expense. And his contract runs until 2031. A long-term contract. It is a deal that proves Real Madrid is betting on him as the absolute centerpiece of their project for the next 5 years. Complete with a massive release clause, get this, of 1 billion euros. Yes, 1 billion euros. That is absolute madness. It means that nobody, absolutely nobody, will be able to pry him away. And seeing how excited he is to arrive, that is simply not going to happen. But hold on, because this story does not even end there. Because on top of the 85 million euro transfer fee, there are performance add-ons that could push the final deal up to 100 million euros. These bonuses are tied to goals scored, Champions League appearances, and league titles. Personally, I think this is brilliant because it means that if Diomande actually performs at the level everyone expects from him, that 100 million euros will turn out to be the best money ever spent in recent soccer history. And if he struggles, the club saves a massive chunk of change. It is smart business, deeply thought out, and cleanly executed. Now we get to the moment you have all been waiting for, what Mourinho said. Jose Mourinho, a manager famous for having one of the absolute best eyes for scouting raw talent, just dropped a massive statement that has completely set social media on fire. According to what came out in a very recent interview, Mourinho flatly stated, and I am paraphrasing his exact words here because they are a total bombshell, that Diomande is the kind of player born once every 15 or 20 years, and he has tracked him for a very long time. He tried to sign him back when he was at Roma, but failed because they simply lacked the funds, and now Real Madrid, by signing him, is building a squad designed to absolutely crush everyone in their path. Mourinho insisted that with Diomande in the squad, Real Madrid now possesses the sheer attacking firepower required to go head-to-head with Barcelona and destroy any other opponent that gets in their way, no matter who they are. He claims Diomande has that ruthless winner mentality, that burning hunger for trophies Real Madrid desperately needs, and anyone currently doubting this signing will be eating their words long before Christmas. And I completely agree with Mourinho, I really do, because this is a manager who has coached absolute legends like Didier Drogba, Cristiano Ronaldo, Eden Hazard at his absolute peak, and Samuel Eto'o. So when a guy who has managed those world-class superstars tells you Diomande is truly special, I believe him, and honestly, you should too, because this is not just some random manager tossing out cheap compliments out of polite obligation. We are talking about Mourinho, a guy who never hands out praise for free, who never says a single word he does not genuinely believe, putting his own name and reputation right behind Diomande. To me, that beats any statistic. But wait, hold on, just wait, because Mourinho said something else, something that slipped right under the media radar, but to me, it is easily the most revealing part of his whole statement. Mourinho said that with this signing, and the ones coming right after, Real Madrid is building a squad specifically designed to completely destroy Barcelona. He did not say compete with Barcelona. He did not say match Barcelona. He said destroy, destroy. Hearing that word coming from Mourinho carries an absolutely massive amount of weight because Mourinho knows exactly what it is like to face Barcelona. He lived through it as Real Madrid manager during those hyper-intense El Clasico years, back in the Pep Guardiola era, during those brutal Copa del Rey and Champions League nights, when the entire world would stop just to watch Real Madrid and Barcelona collide. And if Mourinho says this transfer points in that direction, I stand up and applaud. But you know what? Mourinho is not the only one talking, because the Spanish media listen to this is absolutely blown away by this entire operation. And that is huge, because the Spanish sports media is not exactly easy to impress. Marca, which is by far the most widely read sports newspaper in Spain, has dedicated an entire front page to this signing, calling it the single most ambitious move of the season. AS published a deep tactical breakdown, comparing the qualities of Diomande with those of the greatest strikers in club history. Meanwhile, El Chiringuito, which we all know is an absolute entertainment show on its own, spent an entire broadcast debating the Diomande deal. And let me tell you, even the pundits who normally doubt every single signing, even the harshest critics had to admit that this transfer looks incredibly promising. Cope spoke with sources close to the club who confirmed that Diomande has been the absolute #1 priority for the scouting department for over a year now, working in total silence for a whole year to close this deal. And Mundo Deportivo, which typically leans heavily toward Barcelona, was forced to admit that Real Madrid secured a player coveted by Europe's top clubs, someone who could completely shift the dynamics of the entire league. And that is my absolute favorite part of this whole story. This is not a signing that divides people. It does not spark endless controversy among the fans. Instead, it is a signing that brings pure excitement, a signing that breeds hunger, making every single fan watching this right now, whether in Spain or over in Miami, from New York to Los Angeles, just think this season could finally be ours. The team is going all out for everything, and that feeling, that raw electricity in the air, is exactly what separates a decent season from an absolutely historic one. But hold on, do not think this is all just applause and non-stop celebration, because there is something we need to talk about. Some people out there are already claiming that 85 million euros is way too much money for Diomande. They say it is a massive risk, that he comes from a league where it is easier to look good, and that it guarantees absolutely nothing at the elite level. And to those skeptics, I say just one thing. You are right to be cautious, but your conclusion is dead wrong. 85 million euros in today's wild market is not what 85 million was just 5 years ago. Transfer prices have absolutely exploded lately. For 85 million euros nowadays, you sometimes cannot even get a backup defender from a mid-table Premier League squad. Yet for that exact same 85 million, Real Madrid just landed a young, powerful, lightning-fast striker who has a lethal winning mentality that you almost never see. You call that expensive? Hand on my heart, I think it is cheap. It is an absolute steal. In 2 seasons, if Diomandé plays the way I know he can, 85 million euros is going to look like a joke, a total steal, and a masterpiece of business. And now, finally, let us reveal what I have been holding back this whole time, the untold story that makes this entire transfer completely different from any other signing in the world. Remember when I mentioned there was one hidden stat that nobody else has talked about yet? Well, here it is. Brace yourselves, because Diomandé has a knockout stage goal-scoring record that puts him right up there with the absolute best players in European football today. I am not talking about piling up easy goals in the group stage against weak teams defending with 10 men who are already eliminated anyway. I am talking about huge goals in the round of 16, the quarterfinals, and the high-stakes games where your legs shake, where the pressure is suffocating, and where the opponent sets up a massive defensive wall specifically designed to shut you down. In those huge moments, Diomandé does not shrink, he actually rises to the occasion and transforms into an absolute beast. And at the elite level, that is the hardest thing to find. There are plenty of good players and tons of guys who score domestic league goals. But players who consistently deliver on those legendary Champions League nights, on those nights when the stadium is electric and the entire world is watching, those special players are incredibly rare, and Diomandé is one of them. And that is exactly why Real Madrid paid 85 million euros. Not just for his sleek dribbles, his rapid pace, or his immense strength. They paid 85 million euros for his rare ability to show up when it matters most, for being the ultimate decider on big nights, for being the guy who, when the game is locked up in the 85th minute of a Champions League semi-final, demands the ball, beats 2 defenders, and curls it into the top corner. You cannot buy that with money. It is a pure gift, and Diomandé has it. Just think for a second about what that actually means for this squad. Think about having a player like that on your team, someone the opposing side is terrified of, knowing he is out there on the pitch, someone who can explode at any moment, meaning defenders cannot lose focus for a single second, because 1 yard of space is all he needs to punish them. That presence changes the dynamic of an entire team. It stops opposing center backs from joining the attack because they are too busy keeping their eyes glued to Diomandé. It prevents opposing fullbacks from pushing up because Diomandé will slip right behind them in a heartbeat, and that split-second threat creates massive open spaces for his teammates. That constant imbalance disrupts every play. That, my friends, is exactly what an 85 million euro signing should deliver, and Diomandé delivers it in spades. And there is another crucial aspect of Diomandé I want to highlight, because it shows his true character, his incredible work rate off the ball. In modern soccer, pure talent simply is not enough anymore. You cannot just be a genius with the ball at your feet and then stand around watching when you lose possession. And Diomandé understands that perfectly. He is a forward who presses hard, aggressively hounding defenders deep in their own half. He gets physical, wins back possession high up the pitch, tracks back to cover his teammates, supports his fullback when needed, and never, ever hides from the dirty work. For a club like Real Madrid, that kind of work rate is absolute gold because top-tier managers demand players who can dominate both ends of the pitch, attacking and defending with the same intensity. And Diomandé is the complete package, a truly total player who gives you absolutely everything you need in attack and in defense. It is all wrapped in one package over 6 feet of pure muscle and natural talent. And do you want to know something else? Diomandé has a competitive drive that borders on pure obsession. According to those who have worked with him, he is always the first one to arrive at training and the absolute last to leave. He stays practicing free kicks until the coaching staff eventually tells him it's time to go and rest. He visualizes the matches the night before, studying opposing defenders, so he knows their weaknesses before stepping onto the pitch. The man is a true professional from head to toe, the kind of player who never parties the night before a game. He watches his diet down to the absolute millimeter. He gets all the hours of sleep he needs, treating his physical body like a high-precision machine. And inside the team locker room, every single source confirms he's a natural-born leader. He's a man of few words, but when he speaks, everyone listens. He constantly leads by example, and if he needs to step up during a difficult moment, he does it without hesitation. Which brings me to another question I know you're asking. Where is Diomande going to play? How does he fit into the tactics? Because a player with these qualities simply has to play. That much is clear. But where? And here's the interesting part. Because Diomande is highly versatile. He can play as a center forward, a right winger, a left winger, an attacking midfielder, or even a second striker. He is a highly adaptable player who can perform anywhere across the attack at the absolute highest level, and that gives the head coach an incredible, massive amount of tactical flexibility because depending on the opponent and the match, or the stage of the season, you can play him in a different role and know he'll deliver. Need a physical target man to pin down the center backs? Diomande does it. Need a winger to beat his man and cut diagonally inside the box? Diomande does it. Need an attacking midfielder to link up the play and ghost into the area to finish? Diomande does that too. He's a Swiss Army knife, an offensive wild card, a player who is worth 3. Now stop for a second and think about this. Imagine a massive Champions League night, with a completely sold-out, roaring Santiago Bernabeu stadium, the crowd screaming as Diomande takes the ball right on the edge of the box, staring down his defender, hitting him with a devastating dribble, and firing a rocket into the top corner while the entire stadium explodes. Just hold on to that image, because that is exactly what is coming. That is what you will witness this season. And I don't know about you, but I get goosebumps just thinking about that moment. And speaking of next season, because this is highly important, this signing is not just some isolated transfer move. This is part of a much bigger project, a vision where Real Madrid aims to dominate European soccer for the next 5 to 10 years. And Diomande is the central piece of that project. He's not a backup signing or a rotational player. He's here to be an undisputed starter, the absolute leader of the attack, the star player everyone will talk about every single Monday morning after he has completely dismantled some poor defense over the weekend. The Spanish press already sees it very clearly. Over at Marca, they are already writing that Real Madrid will be virtually unstoppable this season with Diomande added to their front line. The outlet AS ran a headline claiming that signing Diomande instantly makes Real Madrid the heavy favorites to win the Champions League. On El Chiringuito, they held a massive debate where almost all the pundits agreed that this transfer is an absolute masterpiece, raising the competitive level of the team by at least 2 notches. Meanwhile, Cope has been broadcasting reactions from former Real Madrid players who are absolutely thrilled about the arrival of Diomande. According to inside sources, the reaction in the locker room has been nothing but pure euphoria. His new teammates are incredibly eager to play alongside him, and that speaks volumes, because when the people who know soccer best, the players on the pitch who will be fighting shoulder to shoulder with Diomande, are this excited, it is because they know they are looking at a truly special player. And there's one more detail I want to share, and I'll do it now because this is the perfect moment. Do you know why Diomande chose Real Madrid over every other massive club that wanted him, over Manchester City and all their endless oil money, over Chelsea and their billion-dollar project, over PSG and their comfortable league? It's because Diomande, according to those closest to him, had a dream since he was just a little kid playing barefoot in the streets of Ivory Coast, a dream that was burned into his mind from the moment he first saw a Real Madrid match on a tiny television inside a local neighborhood bar. The dream of wearing that famous white shirt, the dream of playing for the biggest club in the world. And now, that lifelong dream has finally become a reality. And when a player arrives having just fulfilled a childhood dream with that level of raw motivation, passion, and a hunger to conquer the world, he's going to give absolutely everything. Every training session, every single match, every minute, because he's not playing for the money, even though he earns 12 million euros a year, which he fully deserves. He's playing for something far greater than cash. He's playing for his dream. So let's do a quick exercise together. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of the opposing defender who has to try and mark Diomande. Picture this, you are a starting center back stepping onto the pitch on a Saturday night, and the coach looks right at you. Today you are on Diomande. What is your plan? Try to beat him on a foot race? Forget it, he is way faster than you. Muscle him? No chance. He is too strong. Intercept the ball? Tough. His first touch gets him turned before you can even stick a boot in. Do you foul? Go ahead and try. He will shrug you off and keep charging. So, do you squeeze the space? Sure, but his teammates will exploit those gaps and completely overrun you. There is no good way out. No matter how you defend him, Diomande has an answer. He is a nightmare for any defender in the world, and that is exactly what Real Madrid wanted, a player who is an absolute nightmare for the opposition. We see so many strikers who are lightning fast but weak, Others are strong but incredibly slow. You get the technical wizards who cannot score, and the pure poachers who do absolutely nothing to build the play. But Diomandé is different. He is fast, powerful, incredibly skillful, scores at will, and makes everyone around him look better. All of it in a single match, sometimes even in the exact same play. Honestly, it is absurd. That is the word, absurd. It defies logic for one single player to possess all of these world-class traits at once. He looks completely computer-designed, like a perfect player created in a video game. Except this is real life, and he is wearing a Real Madrid shirt. Now, let us look at the bigger picture here, because this massive transfer is about much more than just soccer. It is about mentality, raw ambition, wanting to always be the absolute best. When a massive club drops 85 million euros on the table, hands out a 12 million euro annual salary, and locks him down with a 1 billion euro release clause, they are sending a message that they do not settle. What they have is never enough. They always want more. We want the league, we want the Champions League, we want to sweep every single trophy on offer. To do that, you need the absolute best on your side, and Diomande fits that bill perfectly. There is no debate. Now, I want to leave you with a big question, and I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Will Diomande be the signing of the season, or are we looking at the signing of the entire decade? You already know my opinion because I have made it clear, but now it is your turn to tell me yours. What is the verdict? Will he meet the massive expectations or completely shatter them? How many goals does he score this year? 20? 25? 30? Does anyone actually dare to predict more than 30? Let me know below, I read everything. If you made it this far, and we know most people do not, hit that like button. It really helps push this video out to more fans. And make sure you subscribe if you have not, because tomorrow I am coming back with another video about 3 more major signings that Real Madrid has quietly lined up but not yet announced. 3 huge names. 3 bombs that will join forces with Diomandé to build the most terrifying attack in all of Europe. Turn on notifications so you do not miss it. See you tomorrow. Hala Madrid.